on?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Moment of Presence. Today I'm joined by Chewbacca. Michelle is helping Han Solo fight Darth Vader. So Chewbacca's has stepped in today. My favorite part about this is I didn't know she was going to do this. So this is just as much a surprise to me as it is to all of you watching.
Well, the title of today is Take Your Mask Off. So if I didn't have a mask on, then hello. Listen,
Best episode yet.
I take these titles very seriously.
You have always been one to make sure that you are on theme, whether it's dressing up for a party or whatever it is. So I should have expected it. That's on me.
I was voted most spirited in high school because I dressed up for every single theme day, and yeah.
I don't think there's any one of us that knows you that would be surprised by that information.
No, probably not. So, as with the theme, take your mask off. I just had to do it one more time because it's so much fun.
Why not?
Okay. Okay. So, what do we mean by take off your mask?
Did you say what do we mean?
Yeah. What do we mean? Should I go first?
Is this a rhetorical question or you're asking me?
That was a rhetorical question, but I'm also asking you, but I'm happy to go first.
Why don't you go first? Well, actually, why don't we introduce ourselves first?
I think that's a great idea.
That's a really good idea.
So I'm not really Chewbacca. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Wait, hold on. Oh my God, Michelle's back. Chewbacca went back into the... Wait, no, that's Star Trek that beams you up. Dang it. Never mind. I messed it up.
I got into the Chewbacca got into the Falcon and flew away.
There you go.
So I'm Michelle with Moksha Grace Coaching. Chewbacca is my number one buddy and usually my wingman in my dreams. Just because... No, I don't mean that kind of a dream. Anyway, there's a whole video of me meeting Chewbacca for the first time, and I'm crying, literally, because he's hugging me, and it is like the best thing ever. It was just so amazing. But anyway, Michelle, Moksha Grace Coaching, and I am here to help people set themselves free from their emotions that trap them into lives that they barely recognize of what they thought they were going to be living, and really help them manage and take control of those emotions so that they can respond appropriately or in a healthier way so that they can live the life that they want.
Love it.
Yeah.
And I'm Krista Barone with Wicked Wisdom Consulting. I help people relieve stress and get back to doing what they love in their business by taking on all the operational things that they don't want to do, don't want to look at, don't want to hear about. I just take care of it. I'm fractional COO and ops consultant, and you can find out more at wickedwisdomconsulting.com.
Yeah. So, in case anyone doesn't know, we're from Florida. Mm-hmm. And yesterday was quite the day for us. Mm-hmm. After our live, which we celebrated Krista's birthday, which was wonderful. Mm-hmm. Milton decided to join a birthday party, and hi Raymond, and he made a visit, and I'm not gonna lie, I lost my shit.
You really did for a second there, which, I mean, just for context though, like we were nowhere near the eye at all. And you know what it was? It was that we are so far south that it was a surprise how much wind we got. And it was a surprise how many tornadoes popped up. It literally was a tornado storm, which that's unheard of for Florida.
Yeah.
There were 120, 180.
I literally was just reading it was the second largest amount of tornado warnings in a state in one day. Like we hit a record. We're
So
like
we
number 2.
beat like Tornado Alley and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah. It was and they were some of them were quite large, and
Yeah.
luckily, I mean, there were some that were directly due west of us by only,
Mhm.
the drive
Couple
is 30
miles.
minutes, but really not that far in perspective.
No, when I
This
was looking online, there was one that was like not even 5
That's
minutes
what I'm
away.
saying. It's not that
Oh, yeah.
far in
Yeah.
perspective, especially because like the one that really caused some damage in Palm Beach and Fort Myers, those suckers were running for a while. So we did get lucky that we didn't have a tornado touchdown here, but it got dicey there for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
Raymond, I
even the weather broadcast guy that we were watching was surprised, and this is a guy that does this for a living. So
yeah. Raymond, I really hope you caught the beginning of the show. Because yeah, Chewbacca made an appearance.
still
Um,
making an appearance on your desk. He's just devoid of eyes.
it doesn't get old. It just
It
doesn't get
doesn't
old.
hold.
But anyway, I what happened? There were a couple things that happened, right? So coaches are not perfect people. None of us are perfect.
What?
What? And what happened was I allowed myself to get scooped up in the uh reports, and like we weren't even watching mainstream. Like we were just I was actually watching 2 different videos at the same time, which hence issue number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both really cool guys. One's from Kentucky, like super chill and just amazing. But with all of the different and the warnings and the noises, and I never I love my state. Like I love Florida, and I have told anyone that ever says to me like, "Oh, would you ever leave Florida?" I'm like, "Oh, hell no." Like Florida is my state. Like I was born and raised here. I never realized just how much Florida is like is in me. Like I love Florida. So I was taking like every warning and every threat like personally as if I were the land. Like I was just like, what? And so we have people like all over Florida that we love. And so there was not one area that was affected yesterday that we did not have somebody that meant a lot to us. And so as I would hear these warnings and I would see what was going on, I was just like, and so you're feeling out of control,
Mm-hmm.
and because you can't do a darn thing about it. And then I'm like spreading the fear, which I never meant to do, but I was like, hey, if you're not watching, like there's a tornado 5 miles from you and it's like headed towards you. So get
Is
down.
that spreading the fear though, or is that spreading information?
Well,
That's
I don't know,
important.
because back in the day, like your father said this morning, back in the day, you would look out the window and you'd go, "Oh, what's going on?"
Yeah,
And
and back of the day, people would die of freaking a toe infection. Like, I mean,
well, this is true too. So, I don't know if I helped anybody yesterday or if I hindered their day, but it really was from a place of love because I wanted to watch out for them, but it was also I'm guessing and I'm admitting that it was from a place of control. Like I can at least help from afar, but I don't know that I was really helping them. Um, but who knows? And so I lost it a bit yesterday, and probably the day leading up to it I was very much trying to like call in solar flares and dry air, and which by the way, all of that were and I know you said solar flares, but we had a few solar flares a couple days prior to the storm. And so if something's rotating clockwise, in order to slow that turn down, you would enter in something that was um, uh, counterclockwise. And so we kept thinking like, then, and this storm was counterclockwise. So we were thinking, okay, clockwise, we want clockwise rotation. And there was a low that came down and that helped, I think. So, I'm like tapping into energy and elements and like, and then we found out there's birds in the middle of the storm. And I'm like, the birds are doing it.
So I'm going to stop you for a second because I think this is really something interesting. So my personality is the type to be obsessed with trying to control things and mitigate risks and all of that. And you're the type to go with the flow and, we'll address things when they come up. And we took the complete opposite approaches because you were trying to do all the things. And I was like, it's a cat 5. I ain't doing nothing at this point. I'm just gonna share memes, maybe make a couple people laugh, make some jokes, and I'm just gonna ride it out, see what happens, hope for the best, see what it looks like afterwards. And so I think that's interesting that we completely flip-flopped in personalities in a stress situation.
And don't we always, because we're Libra and Aries, and don't we, we're opposites, but don't we sometimes flip?
I guess we are opposites. So I think sometimes we flip, but I don't think it's necessarily like in stressful situations we flip, because like when the goats were giving birth, I went full like surgeon in the ER directing everybody mode. So I don't know that it has to do with stressful situations. Maybe it's just sometimes we flip.
Yeah. So yesterday was a day that I will take my mask off and I will say that no, Milton didn't give his.
What is that? I don't understand the stapler thing. What is that? What did I miss?
I don't either. Raymond,
can you explain in the comments, please? I've been seeing this everywhere. Something about like giving Milton his stapler. Is there a character named Milton or something related to stapler? Please fill us in.
There's gotta be. So I think that taking the mask off is showing our true self. And I want to be authentic, and I want to be authentic with everybody. And yesterday, Office Space, the movie. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yesterday, like all the techniques that I would typically use. I mean, yes, I meditated in the morning. I got myself in a higher vibe. Thank God, because God only knows where I would have been if I didn't. But all the things that I had, like all my techniques, kind of blew out the window with Milton. And like, what? Huh? And so that kind of thing happens. And that's why we have accountability. That's why we have the techniques. And so that way, when you do go to sleep, you wake up in the morning and you go, oh, wait, I know how to do all of this. I know how to deal with all of this. But if it weren't for my family, if it weren't for my friends that were checking on me yesterday and sending good vibes, and, I'm there with you in spirit. Like if it weren't for all of that, I would have like, I don't know.
It's so interesting because from the outside looking in, like from my perspective, you really didn't seem like you got super involved. And yes, you had 2 different feeds on and whatever, but it seemed like you were just kind of getting like hyped up at the action, which, whenever there's some stressful situation, we get energized in the sense that adrenaline's released in our system. But it really didn't seem like you were losing it.
Well, so isn't that
one moment where you came in the office looking like a scared puppy and we're like, and I was like, okay, relax.
But isn't that part of the mask? Because instead of allowing everyone to see me that way yesterday, even those closest to me, my family, I kind of kept it to myself. And then probably someone in our family absorbed some of it. And the anxiety of it.
Yeah, because I would have told you to snap out of it.
Remember who you are.
Edna Mode, good reference.
Yes. And that's part of taking off your mask, is being vulnerable in those moments and saying, yo, I can't,
Yo.
I can't take this anymore. Like I need a break. I
Mm-hmm.
just need to chill. And there were a couple times I would take the dogs outside in between, gusts of wind. And it really, I mean, we've had worse winter storms than what we had yesterday. It was more of, I've never experienced. So all of you that live like in tornado areas, I just I'll take regular plain hurricanes. Again, I will say this
Mm-hmm.
every day. Like
Mm-hmm.
plain regular hurricanes, you see them coming in, they come in, they go, nice and easy. But that yesterday was something I had never experienced
Yeah.
in all of my life in Florida.
Well, and I think that's just, you know, the storm in particular, there were a lot of things about it that were somewhat unheard of. I mean, the tornado situation yesterday was completely unheard of, and that just doesn't happen here. But I think there was so much unpredictability around that storm
Yeah.
that until it was much closer to us and just off our coast, it felt like a crapshoot of where was it actually going to make landfall. And I think that was the scary part because they were so focused on Tampa, 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 and then didn't even hit Tampa.
Well, it did. But
I mean, the eye didn't, but yes, I mean, it did hit Tampa, but like it could have been way, 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 way worse. But there were so many things that they were just getting wrong after wrong after wrong with that storm that I think it was one of those experiences where I don't know that it would have been possible to be like calm per se
yeah.
about
Yeah. How do you feel like you have a mask on? Like when do you have a mask on the most?
it. We're getting deep with today's show. I wear a mask a lot. I think it's just I don't, as someone that, has anxiety and depression issues at times, I think wearing a mask is very required for a lot of things. Let's just be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, so I tend to wear a mask a lot.
It's interesting because I have been in a group of people and working. It's a student group, and there's been a lot of calling me out that I have a mask on a lot, and I'm like, what? Like, I don't walk around with Chewbacca on my face, but evidently I kind of do. And so I don't know. And I still, there's a lot of it that I get, like some people say, oh, you always have to be like so no, I just really enjoy like putting
Hi,
makeup
Pat.
in my hair. Hi, Pat.
Well, here's the thing though. This is a little bit of a tricky subject because I think personally,
Yeah.
because one, we have to wear a mask to a certain extent in our life because there are, social constructs and ways of behavior that we're supposed to have, whatever. But I think it's also, I don't think, Raymond, I think, it's a fine line between, because we're not going to air out every single thought and train of thought that goes on in our head. And so I don't know that it's realistic to say that we shouldn't ever have a mask on because I don't think that's realistic or healthy.
Right.
Because sometimes putting a mask on actually can get you out of feeling poorly. But I think there's also something to be said about the concept of rewiring your brain when you are someone like me, for example, that has a tendency to think very heavily and very negatively. In order to combat that, you have to put a mask on until
Mhm.
the mask just becomes your face. And
Right.
so, in take wearing a mask is actually a very strong and useful tool sometimes. So I think it's a very fine line of when it's time to take off the mask and when
Hmm.
it's time to put on the mask. And I think that there's benefits to both, and I think that there's detriments to both.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And I think it also depends on who you're around,
Mm-hmm.
because there's going to be a certain group of people or a select few, right? That they know you. They know you for who you are. They know every aspect about you. They know that if you do this, it means this.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm reaching out and I'm like, "Are you good?"
Mm-hmm.
That's me actually going like, I'm not good, but I want to check on you because it'll make me feel better to know that someone's good.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like I had that realization yesterday. And I know that I do that a lot. Like I'll just check on people. Um because I want to, because I care, but also because it makes me feel better that they know, one, that I'm thinking of them, and two, that they're good, so I can take that off my list. Like, okay, good. I don't have to I can breathe about
Well, it
them.
sounds like it's also a way for you to kind of check things off a list when you're having anxiety. And so
Yeah.
if you're feeling, because the thing with anxiety is if you have like a generalized anxiety disorder, to put a name on it, there's a difference between feeling anxious and having anxiety. And
Mhm.
feeling anxious is something that comes and goes. A situation comes up, it makes you feel anxious, you move on. But a lot of times with someone that has physical anxiety symptoms will come up without a cause. And so that's when something like that can actually be helpful and yet feed
Mhm.
it at the same time, because you're kind of going down a list of like, okay, they're all fine. So it's not my intuition trying to tell me that something's wrong. I'm okay. Everything around me is okay. Okay, so it's just physical anxiety that I'm feeling right now.
Mhm.
Do some deep breaths, maybe, do some
Yeah.
strategies. So it can be a useful tool of working through an anxiety attack, just anxiety, a panic
Mhm.
attack, things like that.
Yeah. And checking in with the five senses is very important
Mm-hmm.
when you're in the middle of a panic attack,
Mm-hmm.
definitely anxiety attack. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, just letting yourself be who you are and authentic. And I was watching our friend Steve, who joined us yesterday, and his live yesterday, and it was so true because he was talking about, being authentic. Are you the same person behind closed doors or with your family that you are out in public?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was thinking about that yesterday as I was listening to him, I was like, yeah, I mean, I am, other than the letting people know that I definitely can be in more fear and have more anxiety than I even allow myself to believe, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But
and sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, go.
I don't remember what I was going to say.
Dang it. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was gonna say, that's an interesting point too, of you saying even more than you let yourself, recognize that you're sometimes in more anxiety or whatever it is. And I think that is potentially a point where we can say that that is a time to take off the mask. That's when a mask is not really serving you, is if you're using the mask to not recognize and accept and work through the feelings that you're really having, or the whatever it is
Yeah.
you're putting the mask on against. um, I think that's where, yeah, it is time to take off the mask. It's time to actually take a look at what's going on
Hmm.
and go from there.
Well, and that's, you know, a lot of times you'll notice, and you've noticed this, but others will notice that people will coach what they know the best.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to go through my own journey, my emotional journey, my spiritual journey, and get myself to where I am now
Mm-hmm.
versus where I was,
Mm-hmm.
there's been a lot that I've worked through. Um, and there's always going to be a little drift, or there's always going to be a little extra tweak or something new that comes up as you reach new heights. There's going to be something else that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, helping people through those and going, okay, if you can't handle the situation or address the situation in the moment, in a business meeting, let's say you're having an anxiety attack, or you're full of fear and you don't know why, you that might not be the time to try to address what exactly is going on, but it can be the time to take a couple deep breaths and bring yourself into the moment and say, I'm good, I'm safe, I'm here, I'm cool.
Mm-hmm.
um and then afterwards, if you're, let's say, in an office, you can go to your office and you can then kind of, whether you journal it or you let it out or you call your friend or whatever that you need to do, you can take care of it then.
Mm-hmm.
But it's how do you do it in the moment so that you don't react. You don't want to become a freaking anxiety riddled person in the middle of a high strung meeting. If it's, it's something important that's going on, you have to be able to take that step back. And then, but you can't also ignore it and just go, oh, okay, I got through it, I'm cool. No, if you don't address it, it's going to come up again, and it might be worse the next time.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what I feel like. That's what I feel like I have to go through certain things in order to help my clients through certain things. And so the more I learn and the more I go through, the more I can then turn around and give it back.
Absolutely. And I think, it's kind of required in order to be able to see where someone's at. Maybe it's not required, but it certainly helps.
Yeah.
To have been there yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, there's people that coach other people that they haven't gone through groans. I'm sorry. Do you want me to groan in Wookiee? Is that better? I groaned in Wookiee.
That's a reference to a comment, by the way, if you're watching and you're not on Facebook.
Sorry. Yes. And I lost my train of thought. The Wookiee in me took my thought, just poof, right out of my head. Yeah. Facing ourselves, looking ourselves in the mirror and really seeing
Mm-hmm.
who we are and what we're made of is super, super important. And then the next part of that is accepting what you're seeing and feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can do that and accept it and learn to manage it, that's when you can be whole. Notice I didn't say try to fix yourself or try to change yourself. I just said accept yourself. So see it, acknowledge it, accept it, learn to manage it, and then you can and then you can move on
Yeah.
at a higher level of living.
That makes sense.
And so when we talk about taking the mask off is accepting who you are and trusting that you're in a safe place where you can take your mask off, and honestly not giving a f on whether anyone else accepts you for who you are or not, just knowing that this is who I am.
Yeah. And, I think this is very prevalent in more ways than people realize, because even social media is a mask and has become a mask. People are so focused on, well, I got to go to this thing because I need to take pictures of it to post it on my social media, or I
Right.
need to only post certain things because it fits a certain vibe and a certain personality that I'm putting off, or I only need to say certain things because that's, who I'm supposed to be. Right now, virtue signaling is a really big thing. That's a mask that people are wearing, because I guarantee all of these people that are so hell bent on all the different virtue signaling behind closed doors, they ain't Mr. and Mrs. Virtue signaling. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically,
Yeah.
so virtue signaling is basically like you are so hell bent adamant about something that in a lot of cases doesn't even have to do with somebody. So like a virtue signaling would be like people who get all way up in arms about global warming just because it's trendy. or people who jumped on the Black Lives Matter bandwagon just because it was trendy. And so just because they wanted people to see them in a certain light, not that they really believed that thing, but because they wanted to fit in with a certain crowd. So they say and they go balls to the wall that they believe in something, when in reality they're just trying to fit in. And I think that that's something that is going to be really interesting to see the downfall of in the next couple of years, because I do think it's coming, of all these people who have been putting on such a fake face that it's going to fall apart and it's going to crumble. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that have identity crises, and I think that it's going to be interesting. And I mean, we see it in the business world too. Both of us technically would be considered self-employed, and consultants or contractors, just in different arenas, but we see it all the time in the people that we talk to, whether we're networking or whatever. There are so many people that are putting on a mask, but they don't know what to do behind it.
Yeah.
They don't know how to deliver behind it. And I think that's going to fall as well. And people, again, are going to have identity crises. They're going to be looking around going, what the hell am I even doing with my life? And I think it's going to be a really interesting next couple of years.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I think that, a lot of what's happening now is we are seeing things come to light, come to the surface that have been hidden and kept in the dark. And, about the United States, about politicians, about Hollywood, about aliens, about healthcare.
And here's the thing, folks. There's some masks that look really real. Yeah. They look indiscernible from a real human face with the right makeup and glue applied. But they're still masks.
Yeah.
And the masks have to come off at some point, or else you're going to get a really disgusting bacterial infection on your actual face.
That's very
right true. Now, we're basically in the bacterial infection stage, and the masks are coming off because they have to.
Yeah. And I think that that's part of the mask that I'm willing to take off. I'll say it right now. I used to be a hardcore Democrat. I used to believe in all of that, freedom to
wear. You know me, I call myself a recovering liberal.
And I have to tell you that I'm not so happy with the shit that I'm seeing out there. Matter of fact, I'm appalled. And I'm kind of embarrassed that shit has been allowed to happen. And I've hidden it for a very long time because I was afraid of what people would think of me if I said I supported Trump. But guess what? I do. Do I think that he's perfect? Do I think that he's the sweet guy? I think he can be.
Perfect segue into what I wanted to bring up on this topic. Trump is a great example. I'm sure there's things that we don't know about the man. That is 100% certain. I'm certain that just like everybody else in the public eye is, yes, going to do certain things because it looks, the right way, whatever it is. But there is a very, 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 very big phenomenon that's happened, which is someone who wears a mask 24/7 is very, very, very unnerved and uncomfortable with someone who doesn't.
Right.
And someone who doesn't is going to be someone who is unfiltered, isn't watching their words 24/7, someone who speaks the truth no matter how hard it hits, how much it hurts, all of those things, who, does things that maybe you don't necessarily agree with, but it comes from the right place when you actually look deeper than just surface level. And that is very, very, a very uncomfortable thing for someone who is used to living with a mask on. Right. And I think that is a big part of why we've seen this person named Donald Trump so incredibly scrutinized and demonized and all of these things, because so many people are used to looking a certain way, speaking a certain way, being politically correct, saying all the right things, because if you don't, someone's going to get upset. And how dare we affect someone's feelings? How dare we hurt someone's feelings? And that's not reality. The mask is not reality.
Right.
Human beings are inherently flawed. Human beings inherently speak the truth, speak their mind. It's when you hold yourself back that's actually the problem.
Right.
And we talked about this a little last week or the week before on one of the shows. I've lost track. I don't remember anymore. But, oh man, I just lost my train of thought. What did we talk about? We talked about
speaking your mind and not worrying about people's feelings, being honest.
I mean, we've talked about all of that in the last couple of weeks. That it's no one else's responsibility how you feel. That's your responsibility. But you can't penalize somebody else. This is a perfect example of people trying to penalize somebody else for living in a way that they're scared to do.
Right.
And this is an experience that I've had my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Lost a lot of friends over it because I've always been someone who's outspoken. I've always been someone who calls shit out. I'm not mean. I'm not nasty. But I'm honest. I don't put myself in weird situations, and people don't like that because they're not willing to stand in their truth. They're not willing to push against the grain. They're not willing to push against peer pressure.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've had to deal with all the time. I can only imagine how someone like Donald Trump feels.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Like, so taking the politics out of it, when you just look at the person,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's him or someone else that's like him, that you're seeing doing stuff that is totally like putting yourselves in danger, saying things that are totally against the grain, uh, making things better in certain circumstances, whether you believe on one side or the other. There's things that are a hell of a lot better back in the day, like, yeah, than they are now. And you have to ask yourself, what's really going on here? Because why would somebody put their whole life
Mm-hmm.
into this unless there was a really good reason? Because there's got to be more to the story, and I think that's part of the mask that people don't ask themselves about. They
Mm-hmm.
see a mask and they go, okay, there's a mask, but do they really know what's behind the mask or what prompted a mask to go on? And I'm talking in a good way, not in a bad way at this
Mm-hmm.
point, but um, what made somebody
Mm-hmm.
put their life on hold, not get paid for doing what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
because has anyone and everyone forgotten that? And just really standing for what America
Mm-hmm.
stood for in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all lost sight of that.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I don't want to say all, because that's a very
yeah.
big term, but there are a lot of people that have, they say they haven't, but they've lost sight of that.
Mm-hmm.
When are we going? And wow, this is Michelle really taking her mask off. When the fuck are we going to put America first again? Like,
Woo!
Americans should be coming first. Whether you came here, listen, my family came here from Greece. I get it. But we still had to go through the process of becoming Americans.
Okay, let's take a break. Why, this is a good time to take a couple deep breaths.
I think this is a great time for a moment of presence. So, with that, let's take in the essence of truth. Take a big deep breath in. What is your truth?
I am
Yours.
fabulous. Did you hear what I said?
No, what did you say?
I said I am fabulous.
What is your true north? Big deep breath in. And another big deep breath in. And a slow exhale.
Here's the last thing I'll say on that topic. I would much rather be around, deal with, exist with people who say things that are wrong sometimes. People who say things that may not come out the right way sometimes. because I know that it's actually coming from their brain.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who is very worried about every single thing that they say,
Mm-hmm.
that's not genuine.
Yeah.
It's not. Because if it were genuine, you wouldn't have to script it.
Right.
So I will, and you know, not everyone has been blessed to grow up around constant ball busters and, you know, hard asses and all of that. So I get it. Not everyone has that experience. But those are the people who you actually do want to be around, because those are the people who are going to be truthful. They're going to be supportive. They're going to be helpful, even if you don't like it.
And accepting
Hmm.
that everybody has a right to have their own view,
Yeah.
which is the way that I really want to make sure that everyone hears that,
Hmm.
because I can take my mask off and be who I am, but I still love and accept any of you out there that think differently than
Absolutely.
me. That's cool. That's fine. That's good. We
Absolutely.
shouldn't all be cookie cutters of the same
No.
person, of the same
And
mold.
like we've said a million times, every just like with health, just like with everything else, every human being is so different. We all have different
Right.
experiences. We all have different, you know, thoughts and feelings and this and that and whatever. And it's not about right or wrong. It's about priorities. It's about perspectives. It's about making a decision from a place where you have been presented with all of the information neutrally, not just what is being cultivated and orchestrated to
Mhm.
reach a certain end.
Two really good examples that are personal to us.
Mm-hmm.
I never understood what it meant to be a mom of a cancer survivor. I never understood what it meant with childhood cancer. Didn't know it even freaking existed
Mm-hmm.
until I did.
Yeah.
I never, right? We used to watch all the paranormal shows and really get into them. And yes, at one point we loved Zach Bagans, and we still think he's funny to watch.
He's an entertainer.
He's an entertainer, but never would I have said back in the day that I had experienced that fully. And now doing the research and understanding, now I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be scared to death of tarot and pendulums and oh my gosh, and what does that mean? I used to think goats were from the devil. I got 9. we got 9,
Okay, water boy's mom.
right?
The devil.
But seriously. And so it's all about those limiting beliefs that were ingrained in us.
Interesting. It sounds like you're going to say that it's all about the intention behind things.
Huh.
Interesting.
Interesting.
We didn't plan that.
No, we didn't play that. Yeah, the intention behind things, but also experiencing it for yourself and
Mm-hmm.
having your own thoughts about it, and not allowing someone else's fear-based thought or belief to
Mm-hmm.
infiltrate you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I read a quote on a post that, or not a quote, it was something somebody said. And it was basically said, like, it has been so fun finding God in the places I was told he didn't exist.
Right?
And I thought that was, I was so moved by that statement.
Yeah.
And so, and I think about it all the time. It's been like a week since I read it, and I think about it constantly because it, you know, things like tarot, pendulums, crystals, meditation, yoga, deep breathing. You know, there's so many things that have been demonized to keep a mask on people,
Mm-hmm.
that in reality, based on your intention, are actually ways to get closer to God, universe, source, whatever you want to call that. And it's just another form of putting a mask on. Just like the people who, you know, they say if you protest too hard, it's probably because that hits a little close to home to you.
God,
And the
my
people who,
mom used to always say to me, "Thou protest too much."
which to a certain extent, there are cases where that's not the case, but cases where it's not the case. But in the example of this, with tarot and oracle and stuff like that, those that are very, 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 very against it tend to be those that are very, very religious, and what they're hiding behind their mask is that everything that they know and believe in is based on fear, not out of love. And so it is actually a fear of using those tools rather than understanding that they are tools, and it's very much based on the intention that you put into them.
Right. And it's all about something higher than you talking to you. And what's higher than you other than the divine and God and source, whatever flavor is yours.
Right.
And when you put that fear, that mask on, now there's something between you and truly living. And so it's a matter of, when are you ready to take the mask off?
Yeah.
And do you need assistance doing it? Somebody to have your back. Yeah. And I know we're going to go into a lot more of this, I think, in next week's episode, which I'm so excited for.
Which one's next week? Oh, over my dead body.
Yeah, I think that's the one we were going to talk about, a certain situation that happened in history. Or maybe it's the last week.
No, that's the week after. Why are we afraid of witches?
Yeah, exactly. Why are we afraid of the witches? I am so looking forward to that conversation, because that's a lot of what is happening now. And I was reading an article, and I'll save it for that, but I was reading this article that just fueled that that topic in my mind, that a teacher did this experiment in a class and watched it all pan out, and basically the same thing happened. And it was like,
well, don't give it away.
Not, but it was like, what the heck?
You basically did already. Okay, let's end the episode before we give any more else away.
All right, so you can find me at mokshagrace.com. If you want to dive into this more personally, more privately, and talk about your own mask and what masks you're willing to start giving up. You don't have to do all of it at once. Definitely, you can book a compatibility call, and we will have that conversation. Diving into Odonata community on Thursday nights. We have group coaching, and I'm going to start doing like a topic a week. And I think that tonight's topic is definitely going to be, what mask are you wearing, and how we can start, removing it piece by piece, delicately. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. If you want to get in on that conversation, you can go to mokshagrace.com community, and we will get you signed up and get you some interaction on that. Krista, where can people find you?
People can find me at wickedwisdomconsulting.com. I just made some changes and moved stuff around, so it's all even prettier than it was before. There's also a place where you can book a one-on-one consult. Also, you can book a one-on-one networking chat if that is more your vibe right now. And we can just have a chit chat, have a conversation, and go from there. Check out, a little bit more about what I do, the services that I offer. I started describing myself as a Swiss Army knife. I think that's very fitting. If you need a Swiss Army knife for your business, I'm your gal. I help you take care of everything behind the scenes, so that way you can focus on doing the things that you actually enjoy, like working with your clients, or, the parts of the business that you do enjoy. So yeah, wickedwisdomconsulting.com.
Yeah. And just remember, I'll leave everyone with this. Everyone
Hold
has...
on, because I have one more thing. We may be making some changes to Shockingly Delightful, so just pay attention for that, and go ahead. I want to leave you with
this. Everybody has their own choices, literally their own choices, but that doesn't mean that we're not still connected, and we're not the same part of the same being. What makes us who we are and who we're connected to, or what we're connected to. we can have our own way of thinking and still love each other and be a part of each other. So whether you agree with me, don't agree with me, can't believe I said anything that I may have said today, maybe need to ask yourself why you're so afraid of being a part of a situation that might be a little bit different and why it made you uncomfortable. Not calling you out, but also saying that that's part of emotions managing you and you not managing your emotions. And those fears are what hold you back in life. So we all have choices that we get to make every single day when we wake up. We can have a good day, we can have a bad day, we can be fearful, we can come from fear, we can come from love. Make your choices, make them wisely. So, see y'all next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.